Good morning, genealogy friends. How are you doing on this Wednesday? This is going to be a shorter, well, it's going to be a short little video, I think. That's my plan because the National Genealogical Society Conference is happening right now. And so I popped out of the session um, that I was enjoying so that I could come and talk to you. But the next session I'm really looking forward to. Elizabeth Schoen Mills is going to be talking about. Um, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember if she's talking. I think she's talking about finding people who are poor. It's either that or she's talking about finding female ancestors. She's doing both sessions during the conference, and so I'm looking forward to both of them. Anyway, but I wanted to share something that I learned yesterday and how it could be helpful for people who want to come up with their own index numbers. I'm going to flip this around. I have my AirPods in because they're mowing my neighbor's lawn. I just realized I should just shut the window. So let me do that real quick. Tis the season for me to contend with lawnmowers as I talk to you in the morning. Um, Good morning. Hello. Mm, I love it when I use Facebook Live as a mirror and I'm like, what is going on with my hair? So yesterday, so the NGS conference just started this morning officially, but they did this thing yesterday called SLAM, which stands for Society, I think it's Societies, Libraries, and Museums, but it was for um, those associations that had put out videos about new things that they were doing and they sort of highlighted them and then they gave out, I don't know that they were awards, but maybe they were awards. I don't know. That part of it was lost on me, but basically it was great ideas that societies, libraries, and museums have come up with recently. And one of them was so simple and yet so good, and I just loved it. And it was from the St. Louis Public Library. And let me move these around. They did this thing where, at the beginning of the pandemic, I don't know if your libraries did this or if you were even paying attention if you didn't have young kids in the house, but like our libraries had these take-home kits and you could go and pick them up. There were reading kits. There was a summer activities kit that we went and got that had like nature bingo and some arts and crafts, and they had everything in these little kits that you would need, and it was like courtesy from the library. It was great. Well, the St. Louis Public Library did one for their community, and it was a genealogy kit. And what they did is they threw out the old family tree model with the person, and then there's your two parents and there's your four grandparents and things like that. And they turned it into a family wheel as a way to be more inclusive for children whose family tree pattern doesn't follow that traditional two-parent model. And I can show you really quick what that looked like because I was watching her demonstrate it, and I thought, one, that's so simple, it's so obvious, and two, I could immediately see how this would be helpful to people who are trying to figure out how to make I don't even want to say non-traditional, but just how to make their family trees fit this pattern that doesn't follow the pre-printed index for family tree notebooks. Let me flip this around. Uh, what? Sorry, my cat is desperately trying to escape. Um, okay, so I just printed off random concentric circles. Thank you, Internet. So the thing that the public library came up with is that this is your root person, right? And that could be, for their purposes, it was the kid that you got the library kit for, but this could be anybody if we were doing a notebook. And then in traditional, family tree, we would say, okay, so then this is the mother and this is the father and the mother, and then it would go out from there. Well, instead of doing that, what they did is that they had, um, let's say this was the mother, and then they did, and then you've got the biological father and maybe an adoptive father or a stepfather. Adoptive father. Now, what this does is this keeps all of the parents like on the same generation, but it gives space for these trees to grow without it just being one direction and then this direction. So this would go out, let's say that everybody else, just because, I mean, you could keep splitting it up, but let's just say that everybody else from this point on follows the same model. So then you've got maternal grandmother, Um, maternal. You know what would have been good? It would have been good if I had written this out and then just shown you. But I didn't think that far ahead. I thought we could do this together. Group activity. Anyway, but then, these people are split like this. So again, this keeps all of the grandparents on the same generation in the wheel, but here you've got, um, biological, paternal, grandfather. It's not a G. And biological, paternal, grandmother. And then adopted. Sorry, I'm trying to rush. And so on. Do you guys see how this would be easily changeable to fit a different family structure that's coming off of the root person? So how would this affect, like, how would this be useful for, hi, I have words and I can use them. How would this be useful if you're doing your own index? Well, the index that's pre-printed has, number one is the root person, number two is the father, number three is the mother, and then it just kind of goes on. But if your family tree doesn't follow that pattern, there is a blank index page. So what you could do is you could take the blank index and first you would construct the wheel. You do the wheel first so that you could see everybody, and then go through and assign people numbers. So one, and then do you want the fathers or the mother to be first? Let's say you wanted to do male first, fathers first. So 2, 3, or you could do, 2, 3 if you wanted your adoptive father first, whatever. 4, and then you would just follow the wheel around. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you would keep going. And then once everybody was numbered, then you could just transfer this onto the index. Now, granted, I totally can appreciate that this would take a little bit of time, and that as you go out more generations, you're going to have more numbers. But the pre-printed index only goes to fourth great grandparents. So this would be grandparents, great grandparents, second, third, fourth. So you'd only have 2 more rings besides this. So yes, time consuming. I mean, putting the original index together was time consuming. But then you would have a set indexing numbering system that would fit your family. And you could, assuming that you went off from at a certain point and you just followed, mother, father, and gave each person only 2 parents, it would be possible to finish the numbering system even if you haven't identified all of those relatives, and have that index where you have numbers waiting for the day when you do identify them. But you could have those numbers waiting for biological father's side and adoptive father's side, going out and going out. And that gives you space so that instead of sort of jamming the adoptive father's line into the pre-printed index by adding, 2A, 4A, or whatever, and putting that on a separate index page, you could actually create an index for yourself where everybody is numerical order, everybody's included, all of everybody has their own index number, and it doesn't feel like somebody has a sub number of, the biological relationship. I printed another one off because I wanted to point out that you could do this. Where's my, okay, I guess I can just not have a lid for a second. I won't panic about that. It's fine. I'm obsessed with these lip pens, but they dry out so fast. Okay, so let's say you have a root person, root. And I'm going to do this. So my stepfather his grandmother was adopted. So at that point, her family tree splits, but up until then, it follows the 2-parent model. So let's do a wheel where the split happens later down the generation. So we've got father, mother, and we've got paternal grandpa, paternal grandma. Again, there's probably also a nice way to do this if you wanted to keep the wheel in your book. This is just as though I'm using it for scratch paper. And if you wanted, this is not mine, so I'm not going to give it out, but I literally just Googled concentric circles free printable. Maternal grandpa, maternal grandma. Okay, so his grandmother, his maternal grandmother, was the person who was adopted. So at this point, you could do, so it would be like this. I had to like think about it, make sure I'm not doing it wrong. So she would have 4, and then everybody else would have 2. And you would have, so biological, maternal, great grandma. Okay, we'll do it that way. Or sorry, that would sort of be great grandpa. Biological, maternal, great grandma, adoptive, maternal, great grandpa, and adopted, maternal, great grandma. Okay, and so then, and down here you would just have, maternal, great grandma, and maternal, great grandpa, paternal, great grandpa, paternal, great grandma, paternal, great grandpa, paternal, great grandma. And then you can see, so the next generation up, when you continue it, these people would all just have the 2 sections coming off where their parents would go. But then from here, there's going to be more people in this generation because you're going to be capturing all of those names. But you could go through and just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And that gives, again, everybody an index number going forward. I'm sorry that this looks like a hot mess. I really hope that you guys are able to follow what I was saying. This is a combination of me rushing and me trying to write while looking at it through the phone. But I feel like the idea of putting together your own index has been a little overwhelming for people. And granted, again, it's a lot of people, it's a lot of numbers. I get that. But I feel like this wheel visual and then being able to just write out your numbers. And then from here, you would take the index. And again, you don't have to have all of these people identified, but you would just, 1, root person, 2, father, 3, mother, and go on. And then when you get down to number 14, biological maternal great grandpa, 15, biological maternal great grandma, 16, adopted maternal great grandpa. And everybody just ends up in the index with their own number, not feeling like they were smushed in as some lesser part of the family because they were an adoptive line or a step line or whatever. Why do you give the male a number first? Judy asked why I give the male a number first. I was following the male first pattern. If you had a male first, I feel like you have to pick one so that you can be consistent, so that either you do the numbers up here or numbers down here. When I do the pre-printed index, I sell a male first pre-printed index. That's the one that comes with that comes with the bundles now because it's the one everybody seems to want. Originally, it was a female first index where I gave the mothers the number first. That's the one that I use in my own family history, and it's still available if anybody was interested. And in that numbering system, it would be 1 and then 2, 3. But yeah, most people seems to just want the fathers to come first. It's funny because the mothers coming first to me always made sense because the mothers are going to be the first person to introduce a new surname, as you go through. So I kind of wanted them to go first. I don't know. It's a matter of preference is what I'm saying. And so I sell a pre-printed father first index and I sell a pre-printed mother first index. And if you were coming up with your own index, you could go either way. But again, you'd want to pick, you'd want to pick a direction so that you weren't just kind of like, oh, this is 4 and this is 6 and this is, I think it just mathematically, don't make yourself crazy, basically. Pick a direction and then go like a clock, top, bottom. around the circles, if that makes sense. So, all right, I am going to go listen to more from the NGS conference. Curious if anybody else is attending. It's been kind of, I really liked the slam thing. This morning was a little rocky. I was completely thrown off by the fact that everything was in Eastern time because I'm spoiled and I'm used to everything being in Mountain Standard Time. So I missed the welcome. And a lot of the sessions that I want to take, it turns out that they're on demand and you have to pay extra. So that was a little jarring because I feel like I paid a lot for the conference ticket, and then the sessions that are happening live in the conference aren't necessarily the sessions that I thought I was signing up for when I got the conference ticket. And I don't know if you can like pay more to add on the on-demand sessions now, but I also don't know that I want to do that. Anyway, there are some great sessions. It's just there were a lot of things that I was looking forward to, and I'm disappointed because it turns out that I didn't like pay to the level of being able to take those. So curious if you're attending, curious if you paid for the on-demands. The on-demands also won't be available until June. So even though the conference is happening now, most of the sessions aren't happening now. And I think that part of that is because they, Judy, so whoever you pick first, you keep them male, female, phone call. Um, yes. Yeah. Basically, you just pick a direction and then repeat it. Anyway, yeah, if you're attending NGS, I'd just be curious how your experience is and whether or not you paid for the extra package and how all that is going. But the thing yesterday, the slam thing was really interesting. And I'm not a society, a library, or a museum, but it was just fun to hear what people are working on. It's I People being excited about genealogy is one of my favorite things on the planet, and NGS is just a whole bunch of people being excited about genealogy. So I love that. But I'm going to go because I want to get back to it. And then I will be back on Friday where NGS will still be happening. So I might have to check my schedule because if there's something really good going on at this time, then I kind of feel bad because then if you guys see me, you're going to be like, oh, whatever was happening, I guess Carly didn't think it was really good. Maybe I shouldn't say it that way. But anyway, I'm planning on being back here on Friday. That was just me talking out loud or thinking out loud. Okay. I hope that that was clear. Let me know if you've got any questions, and I will see you guys in a couple of days.